Now, Julian Plenti is the intriguing alias of Interpol frontman Paul Banks. The baritone apparently invented it a decade back before the advent of his arena-filling main act. Now, there's lots of solo side projects going on this week, including Radiohead's Johnny Greenwood getting all classical on his own at the Royal Albert Hall. So when Banks dropped into Six Music this week, I had to start by asking him why he adopted an alias for his extracurricular non-Interpol album.
It's something to do with, I think, separation of self, and it's just a kind of extension of the art process. You know, I think that if I were in the business of autobiography or confessional work, then I would, by all means, you know, be out there with my name and trying to get people to know me. But I'm in the business of making art in the rock form. And so for me, alter egos and stuff is hand in hand with the concept of that sort of performance.
Is this because you can't express this aspect of yourself musically with Interpol?
Well, the band is not my band. The band is, you know, I'm not the songwriter of the band. I don't call the shots in the band. I write the vocals and some guitar, and we collaborate. Any individual artist benefits a lot from being in collaborations. A good one, the result is more than the sum of the parts, and I think that my band is definitely a good example of that. When you're working alone, it's just a different thing, where it's like my own artistic indulgences, I can take them all the way to the hilt. And that's something that when you collaborate with people, you never will be all expressive of whatever you might want to say or explore. There's always compromise. So it's very gratifying to be able to just do whatever I feel like doing as a solo artist. Some of the music on this record existed before the band was formed. So it's not at all that suddenly the time was right in the music world for me to, you know, break off on my own. It was like it was high time in the course of my life to finally do this. You know, this is something that's been in the back burner for me for years, you know, before our first record came out. It wouldn't even matter if it got totally panned. It was just, it's like a personal goal, you know. I think there's a funny thing, there's a few songs on there that are so old that whether or not I even liked them anymore, I had to get it out of me so I could move on, I think, from older material, because I just didn't feel like letting it go. I knew it was going to stay with me forever, and it was like for my mental health as an artist.
And how does it sound different to Interpol?
This is the first time I've ever actually mentioned the band in the relation to this album, because my intent was never to cross-promote. I want people to discover this record. I think that's another part of the alter ego. It's like it should be a debut artist to people. This has nothing to do with the band whatsoever, in my mind. I wouldn't assume Interpol fans are going to be into this. I wouldn't make that assumption necessarily. I'd love it if they were, but it is a different thing. It's what we do in the band is just so unique and special. I can't presume that this is really in that even category musically. And then plus, I intend to do some really weird stuff with this that, you know, I don't know if people that like the band will like it. Songs that I'm particularly proud of, Fun That We Have came out really good, and I got to play drums on that song too, so that was kind of, I think the only song on the record where I think I play everything. Girl on the Sporting News, that's a really early song that I put on the record, and it was a song that it's all about the mood, and it was very hard to kind of create the mood, and I demoed that song more than any other song because it's just a really strange piece, and it's got a really odd the tempo changes like drastically in the chorus from the verse, and I was working on it in the studio, and then I found this Israeli dude who was playing cello for me. I had him on a couple other songs, and he just was really responding to the music, and he's like, oh, go back to that song. I want to play on that one. It's unconventional for a session musician to tell the artist, go back, rewind. I want to play on this song, too. You know, I want to improvise on that song, which he literally did, and I kept everything the guy did because he was phenomenal, and he actually improvised on the Esplanade, and he just, I don't know, he's a really special musician. I think the title track means a lot to me. That was written very recently. I wrote that on New Year's Eve 2008. And that song has some very strange samples. There's some female tennis players that I sampled. If you're in a band and you have some quirky idea and you say, hey, I want to sample some girls playing tennis, like your bandmates, however broad-minded or artistic they are, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, no, you know? And so if you're alone, you just like, you don't have to answer to anybody. You can do whatever crazy stuff you want.